Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. So, some news right before tonight's national championship game, in which I do have Alabama winning, not as high in scoring as everybody else has, 34-27 against the Ohio State. But this is a college football video. This is going to be the news about Dan Quinn, who is the former head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, and now, according to various reports, has now been named the defensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys. So last week I made a video regarding the firing of Mike Nolan and Jim Tomsula and some of the things they tried to do and just were very unsuccessful in implementing in regards to the Cowboys defense. We go to Dan Quinn. For those who remember, we had Chris Richard previously from Seattle, defensive coordinator. Dan Quinn has Seattle ties, prime Legion of Boom era when they won the Super Bowl. And he was also very successful at the University of Florida in the early 2010s, which is what had some of us as Texas fans interested in Dan Quinn possibly being the defensive coordinator at the University of Texas, reuniting with Steve Sarkisian. So another instance where my teams tie together, which is always fun. And if you're a fan of any of those teams or just a fan of our channel, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. We just crossed over 8,000 subscribers. We're excited to go to 9,000. So join us on the journey. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, boost our content out all over, worldwide, baby. Now, in regards to Dan Quinn, here's just my personal thoughts, and I'll shut it down because I want to get to watching the national championship game. I am, as a defensive coordinator, it's very difficult to argue with his resume. What he did at Florida, what he did at Seattle, which he parlayed into the Atlanta head coaching opportunity. He did take Atlanta to a Super Bowl as a head coach. So we know he can be effective as a leader of men. And I know a lot of that was on the back of Kyle Shanahan and him getting Matt Ryan up to an MVP caliber. But the success that Dan Quinn has had in his coaching career is very, very promising if you're looking at it from what the Cowboys present. My issue isn't so much with Dan Quinn because I do like him as a coach. I think he's a very, very good coach. I think he's a better coordinator and it has just a better overall resume and a better fit for what our guys need than Mike Nolan ever did. So I do think net the Cowboys have an upgrade. My thing is, how effective can Dan Quinn be? Can he be more effective than what the Rod Marinelli, Chris Richard combo? Can he be more effective than Rob Ryan was? Or, because at the end of the day, like schematically from the NFL standpoint, like the way we defend quarterbacks now, you look at the Josh Allens, the Lamar Jacksons, the Deshaun Watsons, the Patrick Mahomes, all these dynamic young quarterbacks that are very, very difficult to defend. Now, do we have a whole bunch of them in our division? No, but just overall in terms of the league, if you want to be to where these teams are now currently in the divisional round and beyond, you're going to have to be able to defend these guys. Yeah, you're going to have to be able to score, but when I say defend, I'm not even saying shut people down, but being able to get timely stops and be able to slow them down. Like we saw the San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl give themselves an opportunity against the Chiefs by slowing things down. Mahomes and the Chiefs still pull it out, but at least slowing the game down enough and giving yourself opportunities and generating some turnovers where those opportunities present themselves. When you look at the personnel we have on this team, a lot of those guys played in that cover two Seattle scheme that Chris Richard had implemented, and we kind of mixed it with some of the Tampa 2 concepts that Rod Marinelli had, and it was more of a hybrid. I think with Dan Quinn's, we're going to have some hybrid concepts. It's not just going to be straight up and down 4-3, cover 3, Seattle shell like they were playing, or press cover 3. There will be some 3-4, some things he does up front that I think will benefit us. When you look at people like Aldon Smith, when you look at people like Randy Gregory, who can play standing up as edge rushers, there's some cool things you can do there. My concern overall, though, in terms of the Cowboys, is when we look at what has been successful for Dan Quinn and what he tried to recreate in Atlanta. Let's think about this. In Seattle, that defense was already built up by Pete Carroll and Gus Bradley. So as much credit as Dan Quinn gets for coming there and winning with that group was already built when he got there. Now he was the D-line coach in 2009, but when they got back to Seattle after his stint with Florida and Gus Bradley had taken the Jaguars job, Seattle was already ready to win. They were already had that LOB energy. Now, to his credit, they got it done. They developed blah, blah, blah. But you look at those pieces, Brandon Browner and Richard Sherman at corners, big, massive corners. You have Cam Chancellor, who's the enforcer, and you have Earl Thomas, who's the pilot on the back end. It's a really good group. Bobby Wagner up front at linebacker, KJ Wright, Malcolm Smith at the time who could fly on the weak side. Like, that's a very, very formidable group. And then you had the speed up front, Bruce Irvin, Cliff Irvin, all those guys off the edge. What personnel do the Cowboys have to match up with any of that? Because you even look at what he was trying to do in Atlanta, I could see him trying to recreate some of that. And some of it just didn't work. You know, Tack McKinley never could develop into that versatile edge that he had in Seattle. Deion Jones, great pick, was able to develop into a Bobby Wagner type player at Mike. Keanu Neal, able to have those same type of comparisons to a Cam Chancellor. He tried to get there with the corners. They just drafted A.J. Terrell too little too late. They didn't really have the other corner on the other side, and they never had the pilot on the back end. And Atlanta's defense was mediocre at best. And I know he was the head coach and not necessarily the coordinator, but I still look at all those things because he was still had his handprint on the defense, and he's still trying to defend modern NFL offenses, and they struggle. So that is a concern for me as a Cowboys fan. But with him solely focused on defense and trying to, I'm not as concerned as holding the Atlanta stuff against him. I think it's something to be skeptical of, but not necessarily a red flag, if that makes sense. Where the red flag comes in for me, not necessarily with Dan Quinn, but with us, is how we come about with these coordinators, because I just think at some point you have to mirror what the other side of the ball is doing, and the other side of the ball offensively in this league, younger, dynamic. Are we getting? Is Dan Quinn willing to adapt to how offenses are being run in today's league, especially with the personnel that we have? Like, who's going to be that Mike for us, that athletic, or are we going to have to get a new Mike? Because I don't think Jalen can be that player. I don't think LVE can be. They don't have that type of skill set to me for what we're going to be asking them to do. I think Baby Diggs can play in any type of scheme. I think Cheeto needs to move to safety. I've been saying that. And then you have Donovan Wilson, who I guess can be, a miniature Cam Chancellor and help you there. But you don't even have enough pieces right now to really make it all work the way it is. So my question for Dan Quinn is, how do you – because you can't change out all the pieces in one offseason. We'll be able to have some good draft picks and sign some free agents to make things work a little bit better. Hopefully we – are better aligned in free agency this offseason than we were this past offseason in terms of fitting pieces for the scheme. But I need him to come in here and make it work with the pieces we have until he has all the pieces he needs to really execute that scheme of what he was trying to recreate in Atlanta and was unsuccessful doing. And hopefully he can do it in Dallas. That's my biggest thing. Because if you come here and you try to run the scheme the way you're running it in Seattle and you don't have the pieces, we're going to end up with having a lot of the same problems we had, whether it's last season or even some of the breakdowns we had before. Now, last season just got out of hand, and that's why Mike Nolan no longer has a job. But overall, I think Dan Quinn is a good enough coach to at least understand that and just try to make it work with what he has until we beef up that talent. So I question the front office as much as I question Dan Quinn himself. I think with the pieces we have here, he can get them coached up. But can Jerry, Steven, Will McClay, can they do a better job of IDing defensive talent? That's a question for me. Because for every Byron Jones that they identified or Randy Gregory, which they took a chance on, they have a lot of misses on the defensive side of the ball. Even Trayvon Diggs, that was a good pick. Neville Gallimore, good pick. But they've got to do a better job of, hey, in this scheme, we need a safety. Like, what does Dan Quinn need for this to really, really work? And then what are some areas, whether it's some of the outside linebacking positions where we can go ahead and say, you know what, we can prioritize maybe this free agent over here who won't cost as much, but will be very effective in our scheme versus what this person showed on another team. Those are things we have to be mindful of, trying to make this all work under a salary cap model. So those are my 2 cents. I think it's a good hire. I'm definitely happy to be over the Mike Nolan situation. I think it's always a positive to have 2 head coaches. We now have, I think, 3 head coaches if you include Joe Philbin on the staff, the former head coaches. And I think he's a good coordinator. I mean, his resume speaks for itself. My question is who is going to make the pieces work? That's my question and my skepticism. So you guys chime in below. Let me know what you think about the hire. I think it's very, very interesting how this is all going to play out. Another older person, that seems to be the theme with Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinators. We never, ever go young. Even with Chris Richard, we let him call the defensive passing game coordinator, but we never give any of the young guys the outright title when it comes to defense, which I always think is interesting. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Appreciate everybody. Thanks for hitting that like button. Thanks for supporting the channel. Very appreciative of it. Enjoy the national championship game tonight, and I'll be back afterwards for a national championship recap as well. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.